All right, welcome back to Science versus Conspiracy over coffee. I'm your co-host, Conspiracy.
And I'm Science.
And what a show we have today.
Holy cow.
One of my favorite subjects has just gone bazonkers. Let's stick with bazonkers. It's beyond nuts.
It's beyond bonkers and it's beyond zonkers. It's bazonkers.
It's bazonkers. Yeah, and for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, we'll leave links in the description, in the show notes, for videos and photos of everything that we've talked about today. But David Grusch, he has made massive headlines around the world and has blown the lid off of the UFO, UAP conspiracy like no one else.
The truth is out there, Bob. But before we dive into that, we really should talk about this week's coffee, because we're just so wired on coffee and aliens.
What coffee do we have today? Let's brew some coffee, pull up a chair, and open your mind. Today on Science versus Conspiracy, we will be discussing UFO whistleblowers over coffee. We'll be right back.
So, Bob, you have to tell me about this UFO UAP whistleblower, because you know what? I want to believe.
You want to believe? I want to believe. I want to believe this guy.
So it's David Grusch.
David Grusch. Now,
Grusch. With a U.
Sorry,
Grusch.
Grusch. David Grusch. I'm sure his name will flow off the tongue because I think we're going to be talking about this guy for quite a while.
Exactly.
He's like the Edward Snowden of the UFO phenomenon.
Yeah. This dude was a high-ranking U.S. intelligence officer, former Air Force, and formerly of AARO.
It stands for the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office.
Right, okay. All domain.
All domain.
So that means because what they're trying to say here is non-human.
Right.
Anomaly.
Right, and I think that's what we have to be very careful and critical of the wording that he says, because he says non-human repeatedly, non-human craft.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things that I wrote down for my notes here, because I think.
But wait, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
We have to tell people.
Yes.
Just in case you have been living under a rock.
I know. I'm just so excited that I'm jumping ahead here.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Well, just that. So this man who we've established his credentials, he's a former Air Force pilot and high-ranking official in the DoD as an intelligence officer in the Department of Defense, the United States, right? Mm-hmm. He has come out and publicly made statements, as well as they're calling him a whistleblower. He has submitted paperwork to the Inspector General of the DoD, making complaints to Congress that there's been a massive cover-up of non-human craft being found and, I guess, retrieved.
Yeah, recovered, yep.
Recovered, and it hasn't been shared. It's been highly classified and hidden, such that it wasn't even shared with the very office that was meant to be investigating it. That's how secretive they're keeping it.
Yeah, and this has been going on for decades. This isn't something new.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, well before Roswell.
Wow. Now, I didn't read that far back into the Debrief or any of the documents that Leslie Kean had posted or written, rather, the journalist Leslie Kean with the Debrief. But we'll definitely be linking those in the show notes for you folks to go in and look at it all yourselves. But essentially, yeah, the gist of it is that other really high-ranking officials have disclosed to David that there are these retrievals and recoveries that have been going on forever, that his office, ARROW, the all domain anomaly recovery office,
resolution office.
Yeah. They're the ones who are supposed to be investigating aliens, UAPs, UFOs, and they weren't even told about it.
Right. So this goes way beyond at the highest levels.
Yeah. And he has massive amounts of trust placed in these people who have supposedly told him this. Right now, it is all third party. So what he has presented to Congress has not been shown publicly because it's classified.
And national security.
National security risk, for sure.
And this guy's checked out. We obviously haven't checked him out, but there have been a number of news outlets and journalists who have verified who he is and he checks out.
Yeah.
This is a real guy.
He's an intelligent, articulate, well-spoken, he's not just a nut job. Of course, nut jobs can be, and I use the term nut job loosely because obviously that's insulting to people who have mental illness. But he is not just a conspiracy theorist in the loose sense of terms. Not that all conspiracy theorists are nut jobs. I'm not trying to dig myself into a hole here.
I think you are, though.
I unintentionally I know I got to quit while I'm ahead. But I mean, the fact is, he has legitimate credentials and would have very legitimate, reasonable, likely access to this type of information and to these type of people. That's what they're saying. It's very legitimate.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, we watched the video this morning, the interview. What were your impressions?
My impressions were that he's sitting on a time bomb. Like he looks like the cat who swallowed the canary, that euphemism. For someone who knows like some amazing things and just like wants to tell people. He's got some secrets. Like he looked, if this is all fake, he's portraying it really well because he seemed to carry himself well-spoken, knowledgeable, and it's just, and he even admitted like he's doing so at risk of his own peril. So it seemed very legitimate to me, but without actually seeing any actual hard evidence. However, I'm sure you were going to get to this, the comments made by the Inspector General.
Yeah, why don't you tell us about them?
So he had submitted these whistleblower complaints that this knowledge of these recovery operations and what resulted from the recovery operations are being covered up. And the Inspector General has responded to say that his complaints are, quote, urgent and credible.
Yeah, the DoD is taking this very seriously, which is unusual in these sorts of cases.
Yeah, and it's laughed off a lot by the general public, too. But this, like, that actually, could give one goosebumps that it's taken to be urgent and credible. Like, whoa.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's why I'm so excited about this, and everybody in the UFO field who have spent their lives researching this. They're so excited about this. Everybody keeps talking about disclosure, and the disclosure's coming. And I think for one of the first times, it actually might happen.
Yeah, that's stunning. I know we keep saying UFO, alien, UAP, they're all kind of almost synonymous with each other, but the UAP community is just, I think, excited and elated from what we've seen.
Okay, so now jumping back to what I was getting into before.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm glad we needed to talk about all this before we get to what I'm about to say. And that is, I think we have to be very careful, and because he's been very careful of how the the wording that he uses,
Right.
non-human crafts.
Okay.
And now for decades, the U.S. government and other governments around the world have denied that aliens from another planet have been visiting the Earth, and that the UFOs, these alien crafts, don't exist.
Right.
So that brings us to the non-human craft. So if they're not aliens, and if the government has been telling us the truth that they're not aliens, then what are they? Are they multidimensional? Are crafts from parallel universes? They're not human.
But not human means alien.
I know, but not necessarily from outer space. And that's what they keep
No. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean they're not from outer space. It doesn't mean that they're from another dimension.
It does though.
No, it doesn't.
Because the governments around the world have, when asked the question, are we alone in the universe? Have aliens from another planet been visiting our Earth? They say no. Now we have this whistleblower talking about non-human crafts.
Yeah, because for the first time, they're acknowledging publicly that this isn't just the U.S. Army screwing around, because that is what decades of denial has been. It's been for example, everybody thought there were UFOs, we're going back to the 80s or 90s. Whenever it came out, they said, oh no, that's just the stealth. So it was always, oh no, that's just us. And then trying to experiment and mimic, interplanetary rapid flight, for example. Oh no, that's just us. So all these crashes, and that's what, like they even show it on the X-Files and stuff, right? All these crashes, they've always said, no, it's just us. So now, for the first time, they're saying it's non-human. We are the only people who are human. There is life on other planets, but they are, by definition, not human.
Right, but what if? And I'm sounding like the skeptic here. Because what if these crafts originated on Earth, but are non-human?
Okay, I see where you're going with that. I think you were conflating something that is already an incredible potential life-changing. I mean, once this comes out, this will be life-changing for all of us. It will be. Because even for someone like you who has believed in, and myself as well, believed in extraterrestrials pretty much our whole lives, we've never had credible knowledge of it. That's, do you know what I mean? Like you've never seen one yourself personally.
Oh, I have.
Well, okay. We'll come back to that. But, I think you're conflating what is already an amazing discovery and world-altering news. You're making it even more complicated than it needs to be. Like it doesn't, this is already enough. It doesn't have to make it any more fantastic. It doesn't have to be any more incredible than it already is, Bob.
I get what you're saying, and it is, if found to be true, then it will change not only our religious beliefs, our financial structure, our way of life. It'll settle the question once and for all that we're not alone in the universe.
Exactly.
But my biggest thing here is these beings travel light years from wherever they are to the Earth. How are they? Are they must be really bad drivers or something, because if there's this many crashes and recovered vehicles from extraterrestrials, then I don't know, like,
Well, okay, now I'm going to sound like the conspiracy theorist here.
Yeah.
This is really funny because we're flipping roles here. But why is that hard to believe? They could be shot down by any number of U.S. military. So they could be shot down by any number of U.S. military agencies. They really could be bad drivers. Maybe once they enter the Earth's atmosphere, it's not what they expected. Maybe, there's all kinds of reasons. Like, it it sounds kind of funny, but yeah, perhaps. Why not? Because we've been driving with cars on our planet forever since Henry Ford, and there's still crashes all the time. Why? Bad drivers. Things happen, right?
yeah, just if you're cutting across the cosmos.
They didn't put the brakes on in
They
time.
didn't put the brakes on.
Maybe they were fighting behind the wheel, and Blorp wanted to drive and Bleep didn't want him to, and they were fighting over it. Who
Asking
knows?
for directions.
Yeah, exactly. Right? X-Files. There's so many great things that could come out of this, though. Not just the jokes.
Okay, so then there's this report from David Grusch. And then out of...
Oh, wait.
What?
Are we going to still talk about Grusch, though?
Oh, yeah, we'll come back to him.
Oh, okay.
In half a second.
Okay.
Just because last night on Wednesday in Las Vegas, there was body cam footage of a craft falling from the sky from one of the police officers in the area, and followed up by a phone call from one of the local residents that something had crashed into their backyard, and when the family looked outside, there was they saw two figures that were 6 to 10 feet tall with ginormous eyes.
Okay, so that was L.A., actually.
L.A.?
Yeah.
I thought it was Las Vegas.
Not Vegas. Oh, I just pulled it up and looked.
Ah.
It was L.A.
It was L.A.
And yeah, I know when you were first watching it and you told me the people said they're about 8 feet tall, right? So, saying 6 to 10, you're doing it a disservice because anybody can be 6 feet tall, right?
Right.
We're already starting at a baseline of 8 here. Like, so, I mean, but what the video wasn't clear on what it showed, though, was it?
No, when the officer went into the backyard of the home, they blocked it out because they cited private property, and they blocked out everything that was in the backyard. Convenient, but...
Yeah. So is it because it's private property, or is it because they're not ready to release it yet? What do you think? Do you think this is credible?
On its own, yes. Timing's a little suspicious.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
Because the news, the whistleblower news with David Grusch was at the beginning of the week, and then this was just last night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to me, this sounds like a cover-up in progress.
What do you mean?
Well, to quietly discredit him, because if there's all of a sudden crashed UFOs popping up everywhere, it's like the boy who cried wolf.
Oh.
They said they keep talking about crashes and aliens, and people are going to tune out eventually. And even if one of those cases turns out to be credible, the rest, they're going to get lumped in with the rest of the crazies.
Well, that's funny because when you said that, and immediately when you said that this was the timing was too coincidental, I thought of copycats, right? Like those crazies that you're mentioning. My mind did not go immediately to, oh, it's the government making something, covering it up so that they can discredit him. I didn't think that at all. I just thought, oh, okay, so people heard on the news about aliens, so now they're trying to like make it look like aliens have landed because they, they're, for whatever reason, they want fame, they want fortune, who knows?
Exactly. And
or maybe this is just mass hysteria.
Right. So that kind of brings me to this other point. And I keep going back, and I think we brought it up in another episode, but back in 1938 with the War of the Worlds radio broadcast, I still 100% believe that it was a military operation to gauge the public's readiness for the existence of UFOs. And it incited mass panic.
Yeah.
There was mass hysteria. And I think back then the government decided that we're not ready yet. So fast forward to 2023, and this might be the updated version of War of the Worlds, gauging people's preparedness for disclosure.
So if it were that scenario, then you're saying David Grusch is just in on it.
You got to question it. And even like Bob Lazar made headlines back in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s with his accounts of working at Area 51 and his work on back engineering UFOs. You got to take all these credible accounts with a grain of salt, I think, because we just don't know.
But one thing that they did say on the NewsNation report was that so far nothing has come out to discredit David at all. And usually there's things that pop out of the woodwork. As soon as somebody hits massive headlines, somebody comes out somewhere to say, I knew this guy in high school and he had a couple screws loose. Or, this guy's been telling fanciful tales his whole life. Nothing has come out yet at all, and especially not from the DoD, to discredit him yet.
But you look at guys like Edward Snowden, who's exiled in Russia right now for releasing classified information. Is David not held to the same account, to the same standard as Edward Snowden?
Oh, it's only been a couple of days.
I know, but Snowden,
let's wait and see.
Yeah, well, Snowden, he did all this, and moments after The Guardian published his dump of classified information, there was warrants out for his arrest, and he was looking for asylum in any number of countries, and he settled in Russia.
Maybe people don't take aliens as seriously.
Well, they don't. I think it's becoming more mainstream over the last number of years, but it's still on the fringe of...
And the thing is, too, we haven't seen what David had access to. It's still classified, whereas Snowden, it was all out there for everybody to see.
That's true too.
So right now it's kind of like, although the government would still have the knowledge to go and arrest him, public opinion is still out, right? Because obviously they've said everything's classified, so they can't release it. And so that's why we don't have any, you and I sitting here, armchair and analysts, right? Desk chair analysts have no further evidence to distinguish his credibility or incredibility.
Right.
Yeah. So time will tell. But boy, this is a really cool thing to talk about.
It really is. And I don't want you to think that I'm being skeptical of, or I don't believe in what this guy has come forward with. I'm really excited, and I'm hoping that what he is saying is true.
Yeah.
And right now we have no reason to not believe him.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So not only do we not have any evidence, Arrow has come right out and said that they deny having any verifiable info. I don't want people to take that as meaning it doesn't exist, though, because that's exactly what Grusch is saying. Of course, Arrow does not have verifiable info, and that's why he's blowing the whistle, because the very office that's supposed to be investigating these things has had it withheld from them. So they also can't confirm or deny, because supposedly no one's been sharing it with them.
Right. It's the plausible deniability thing. If you don't share the right information, then the agency that's meant to investigate, then they can obviously say that they don't know anything about it.
No, that's the wrong use of plausible deniability, though. Plausible deniability is when you actually know, don't tell me. I don't want to know. It's like Saul Goodman.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like,
No, but they want to know.
no,
Arrow,
they don't. No, they don't want to
Arrow
know.
wants to know. They just haven't been told by the uppers in the DoD, and that's why
I know.
Grusch is complaining. They want to know. That's why the office is there.
Officially and for public facing, yes, that's why it's there. But we don't want to know, because then we can't. Then we can say that we don't know and that this stuff doesn't exist. They look the other way, officially.
Okay, so now you're back in the conspiracy seat. So that's good. And now we've reverted back to our actual roles. That probably is a good place to leave it then.
Yes.
You be you, I be me, and
EBE.
EBE. X-Files joke, good one. But folks, let us know if you have read the debrief. If you've watched the video, we'll put the link in the show notes, as Bob was saying. Let us know if you have had any strange encounters that you think might be otherworldly or other dimensional. But
because there are a lot of things happening. That's it for this week.
So, this is science reminding you, stay curious, and boy are we curious, but rely on the facts.
And remember, being paranoid is smart. We'll see you next time. This episode of Science vs. Conspiracy Over Coffee was produced by Story Monkey Productions.